Welcome to today's webinar. My name's Andrew Talbot and I'm going to walk you through how Gateway OMS can save you time processing orders for on-demand products. Now, this isn't intended as a full demonstration of the OMS system. There's lots of other content to do that for you. What I wanted to focus on today, as in the title of the webinar, Save You Time, is the core principles of processing orders for on-demand products, which are obviously personalized, print on demand, configurable, customizable, or any other word you want to use. So what's important, as is shown by the stopwatch, is that every second counts when you're producing an order of one. Because in mass production, you're obviously creating 1,000 of one design or one product. So you could afford to spend 5 minutes setting things up because there's then 1,000 to produce. But if you're producing one design, 1,000 different designs, so you're producing the same number of print jobs, but you spent 5 minutes on that, that would obviously be untenable. So what I'm aiming to show you is the little tricks and tips about Gateway OMS that makes it much easier to process orders of one in batches of one. And really, technology is the only way to make mass customization possible. So anybody producing orders of one or in the mass customization business must invest in technology. And what we've done with Gateway OMS is built probably one of the only systems in the world that's only ever meant for processing batches of one. So it moves from that way upwards, whilst lots of other systems move from the mass production downwards. So the core principles of print on demand are exactly the same as those for personalized products, as it's a print job of one. I mean, it could be more than one, but it's a very small print job. So consolidation is key, being able to batch orders together. And obviously, the other thing that the principle here is that the speed in which you can turn something round and the fact that it's not labour intensive means that manufacturing comes back into your local country. Obviously, China has become the world's factory, but in the mass customization world, there's no way that Chinese production, unless you're in China or the Asian region, could compete, because in essence, there's very little manual process involved because the computer does most of the work. And obviously it can be done same day, and the cost of carriage is or shipping is what makes it. And then integration is also key in terms of how this works. So it's absolutely key that, you pass into your carrier system or you get orders. So let me walk you through the key principles of how OMS can help. So the first one really is quite simple, and as I said, I'm going to show you some elements of OMS, but not a full demo today, is receiving orders. In my opinion, it's mission critical that you get all the orders in one system, because then you can batch them together, and you don't have to waste time jumping from system to system. And it may sound trivial, I go and get these orders and I download them, but if you consider the time sometimes, say at Christmas, if you're in this business, I know people that spend 15 minutes, half an hour downloading or getting their orders manually every day. That's really no good when you're trying to save the time. So in our world, we can take orders from our own smart links, previews on screen. You can put manual orders in if people ring up on the telephone. You can do things in point of sale for dropship. One of the most common to get things going fast, you can import CSV files. We've got a developer's API, so the more sophisticated customers can drop orders straight in. And we've written lots of integrations already with leading retailers and marketplaces like Amazon, where you can just put your account details in and the system will suck the orders in. So Gateway OMS is one system where you can put all your orders, and that alone starts to save you a fair amount of time. Then the next thing we're going to talk about is once the orders are in, being able to find them quickly if things need changing is really, really important. And I'll show you search options in a minute. And the other one that I think is absolutely key when you're getting orders from marketplaces, etc., is being able to automatically validate that they're in a condition to print, because there's nothing worse on the shop floor than, i.e., printing the wrong stuff, so you then have to do the job again. That kills your time. or having to mess around manually changing stuff. So one of the features of OMS is what we call QC query. So it will automatically put orders on hold and flag them in red where it feels you haven't got the field filled or you haven't got the field filled with valid information. The API does some of this too. It also gives you an easy artworking tool. So someone in the customer services could be correcting orders and dropping them onto the shop floor, saving time from your shop floor people and meaning non-skilled people can update artwork. And I'll show you that feature in a minute. And you've also got the option where if it says you haven't added a name and you can see people they've just allocated it to the wrong field, you can make a field mapping and save that. So let's take a quick look. So that's the typical Gateway OMS order screen. And in there, it tells you quite a lot in this view, what you can do with an order. And you can see, you can type in an order number, an item number, choose a website, choose a status of order. And you've also got on there an advanced search. So you can search by company, carrier, method, date range, customer name and email, postcode, product SKU, even the print job ID. So there's so many different things you can search by, and you can see, as we've been talking live there, some orders have come into the system as they drop in automatically all the time. And I guess the one bit I was going to show you was, if we go on to here, it was more the easy artwork generation. So you've got all those different tools on there. So if you went into that particular product, we could see all the details on that product, the personalization elements, and we could click on live edit, and it would actually allow us to add text if we wish to on there. So this is a fixed text one, and save that artwork job. So that's how easy it is to use for editing and playing with your orders. So if we go back onto the next slide, which is all about bulk actions. So again, it's probably better to show you this one on the screen. So I could click there, choose that, or I could say, give me all the orders at receive status. So click there, and it would say, well, you've only got one to deal with at the moment. And then I can select those orders and choose a range of tasks. Now, one of the things with Gateway OMS is there's 4 or 5 different routes through the system. So this is not necessarily the way to do all of these functions. We just allow you to do it from this point if you want a simple or a different thing. But the beauty is here, say that was all new orders that have come in, you could go down here and you could say, download a stock CSV. So that would then give you a list of hundreds of stock items that you needed to go and list. Or download picking labels, so you could go and get labels to pick stock. Or if you wanted to work off job sheets, download job sheets. Or if you wanted to search by everything that's been dispatched and manually invoice, manually invoice. So bulk actions are a very useful, quick route to get to where you want to be by using bulk actions and the searching process. So I think that explains them pretty well. There's always a lot of different ways they can be used, and part of what we can do is sit down with you, understand what you're doing at the moment and suggest ways. One of the other key elements is scan points. Now, scanning is much faster than typing things in on a keyboard. It eliminates the input errors. And the beauty is barcode scanners are actually cheap. So they're about 30 quid. You just plug them in, scan, and they work just like a keyboard. And the beauty of our system, we can generate barcodes in lots of different places. So you can actually build them into the artwork, also on things like a greetings card. You can have no job sheet at all. You can just scan the greetings card when it goes through. You can build barcodes into picking labels. So when you go and pick something, you stick the barcode on the product. You can build the barcode onto a production sheet. So when you're using sheets, you can scan the production sheet. You can build them onto a batch template, so you can scan for multiple. There's all sorts of things you can do with barcodes. And if you go onto the system, you'll see this is an example of a scan point. And most scan points have a double scan. So they enable you to scan once to see the product on the screen like now, and then you can set what happens on the next scan. So after the next scan, it could download the artwork to a hot folder, it could print the artwork straight to a printer if it was connected, or it could print a barcode. So in this particular case, it's you print the job and you print a barcode, because then you stick that on the back of the product, so you don't need a job sheet. There are lots of different ways to use them, but the whole point is scanning is a very effective way of doing these things. And you can see there we've got scan points for displaying the product, QCing the product, dispatching the product, dispatching a batch of products, changing the status of a batch, creating a job sheet, adding your own substatus, creating more barcode labels. There are all sorts of different ways you can use them. So hopefully that gives you a flavour of why barcodes and scan points are a good idea. The next thing that we've become big on is integrated labels. So depending on the workflow you choose, the one on the left is kind of like an example production sheet, where one of the barcodes or both of the barcodes on the right are peel-offable. So we'll talk about batching in a minute, but you get all the products together, you peel off the barcode, stick it on the product, and then that follows the product around, and you don't need a job sheet when you come to dispatch it at the end of the process. Also, Amazon and eBay have pioneered what we call the integrated job sheet, which we can do, where that's branded up with the retailer that's using it. You peel off the label, which gives you the proper approved carrier label, and you use the rest of it to stick inside the parcel. So those are all smart little time savers that OMS does out of the box, including the branding. Stock management I sort of touched on earlier. So the idea behind stock management is very much you want to know what's going on. In the world of on-demand, the blank product can be thousands of end products. So our system's set up so every product is tied to a blank product. That way you can downgrade the stock properly, see what you've got left, create purchase orders, get a running total. And we're in the process now of integrating with lots of leading blank suppliers, so you can electronically send them your orders and create picking as well. So we have all the features really. The key on stock management in an on-demand world is every product has to be tied to a blank. And with our SKU mapping and variant SKUs as well, we cover it off nicely so it updates the right blank. So then the next one on our list, which I would say is probably the cleverest and the most important feature, is batching and routing. So what that means is, and it's a simple thing, but say you have, which lots of people in this trade do, you come in of a morning in the Christmas period, that last quarter, and you've got 50 job sheets or 500 job sheets. How long does it take someone to manually sort them into piles? You sort of laugh sitting here now, but it can take half an hour sometimes for these things. So the computer should be doing that work for you. So you go to your workstation, you either print off the batch sheets or they're printed off overnight. It's up to you how you want to use it, but it does the sorting for you. And perhaps even more importantly is when it batches jobs together. So let's go and look at an example of that. So I'm looking at batches at the moment. And this is the batch details from a batch job. So this is telling me this was the batch. I filled 20 slots out of 20. I could probably go back further actually and just show you that. So this here is showing me all the different batches as they're generated. And it tells me how many spaces are in the batch if I'm printing on a big sheet. So 20 out of 20, I can have batches that are 1 out of 1, 25 out of 25. I can have any number in my batch that I choose. And then when I go into that batch, and obviously batches have statuses, etc. But if I go into that batch, it then tells me about that batch. And then when I click on items, it tells me about all the items in that batch and what order they relate back to. And then if I can print that as a job sheet, I can download the artwork. I could have the artwork all as separate files. I could have them merged onto one big print file. Hopefully you're getting a flavour now of how OMS can merge things together. So in this case, it's simply using it to merge them into batches without merging them onto a single template. But if I want to, I can print all separate jobs on one big job. So if you have a big wide format machine, you can print your jobs 90 up, or, I've known people print them 100 up. You can scan with one barcode to dispatch 90 jobs at once, update the carrier system, which we'll talk about in a minute. So batching and routing are probably the biggest single saving you can get from something like Gateway OMS and what you need when you're managing orders of one. The next thing, again, sounds a bit trivial, but printing is key. Because if you've got the artwork on a computer and you then have to open it up in a RIP software, press print, do this, do that, you can waste minutes printing each time. What we've worked quite hard on now is doing the different kind of prints. So we can set up cloud printers, we can automatically do the ripping in the cloud. So when you hit the print button on Gateway OMS, so to go back into here, to give you an idea, if I was looking at my batches there, I could just simply hit the print button there now. If everything was connected, it would just print that batch off. Just print that batch off. And you can see there, as the status changes, it would then change to in production. Then when I'd scanned it, it would change to dispatch. So printing's really key because you can waste a lot of time. By printing, we can send automatically to hot folder as they come in, so then the hot folder is synced with the printer. We do some work in the labelling industry with third-party applications like Bartender because they've got faster print drivers than Windows. And we've just introduced our own cloud spooler, which can now drive 600 different printer types directly from Gateway OMS. So printing from within the software is another big time saver. And the other one I sort of touched on now, which I think other than the routing and the batching is probably the second biggest time thief I've seen, which is when people have to enter stuff into carrier systems manually. OMS integrates with all the leading carrier systems, can go and get the labels whenever you need them, can book the carrier for you and update the carrier. And if the carrier supports it, we can even get the tracking number back and tell the customer when it's actually delivered and signed for. So we also work with quite a few of the aggregators now, people like ShipStation, MetaPack, EasyShip in all the different territories. So in reality, you should never need to leave OMS to do anything in a separate shipping system. OMS should do all of that job for you. So if you're using a separate shipping system, this is the first one to eliminate. Okay, invoicing, again, sounds trivial and often isn't a production job, but you can waste so much time on invoicing. Because you've got, every order's like one, you could have 1,000 lines on an invoice. So what OMS can do, it can allow suppliers to self-bill, it can automatically do the invoice at the end of the week, it can post it directly into the accounting system. Even for smaller companies, it can automatically take credit card payments as if it was on a website. So the beauty of invoicing is huge again in the on-demand world and something that OMS will handle for you. So I always try and keep these training sessions and webinars fairly punchy. So hopefully no exception here. I just thought it would be useful. And these figures aren't necessarily right, and I think they're probably quite pessimistic. If you said, and I put 6 categories down, there may be other ways you can save time. If you just saved 15 seconds on each order, and you process 50 orders a day, you could save an hour and 15 minutes, which in a year would be 65 days. So if you imagine you're paying someone, I don't know, £100 a day, that's a £6,500 saving. And that 50 orders is obviously very small in the on-demand world. So if you then upped it to 100 or 500, so just do this calculation yourself and think, hang on a minute, because the most expensive commodity is labour, which is why a lot of manufacturing production goes overseas. So if you can reduce the labour element, and you've obviously already being in your local territory got the shipping element, and to mention it's green and sustainable, which everyone's looking at more and more, and quite rightly so, then there are huge time and money and, process savings to be had out there. So hopefully this whistle-stop tour has given you a flavour. Please go on to custom-gateway.com to find out more about our systems and what we can do for you, or get in touch and one of our consultants can walk through with you how we can save you time and money in the on-demand business process. Thank you for listening.